Wow, guys, thank you for sending me so many questions. I was not expecting to get as many as I have. It's over like 140 questions. Probably not going to be able to get to them all in this video. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can. If I miss your question, don't worry. I will respond to you either through a message or a comment or something, but you will hear back from me. Basically, let's just get through as many as I can, and again, thank you very much, guys. Ultraman52 asked a few questions. First one, how did you get into the music business? I started as a kid when I was in my mid-teens doing local promotion for concert production companies and venues, passing out flyers, doing like ticket drops, stuff like that, and it just grew from there. The more people I met and handshakes and that kind of shit, you know, it goes from there. The other one, what made you want to start collecting video games? I was born. I was born and grew up right around the Atari to Nintendo age, so there was just video games in my face. Every friend had video games. My brothers were just sort of getting out of them. Their Atari, you know, they weren't playing too much anymore, and I sort of took it over, so that is how. Nine Cats asks, how long is my longest head hair? It's about as long as the length of my arm, so towards my wrist, so what's that, like 2.5 feet or so? That's close enough, right? Kevin Jones actually sent me a video response, and in that he asked, what is your favorite video game system of all time? That would be the PS1 for me. That was when I like really got into RPGs hardcore. I had played a bunch beforehand, but when that system came out, that is sort of when I just went nuts and just started buying a bunch. What is your best Halloween memory? That would be probably the first time I saw a really big decorated like house, you know, not a professional haunted house or anything like that, but probably when I was about 10 years old, 11 years old, and I went to this neighborhood house that would just went all out, and I remember I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to just take my display and my haunt to the next level. So I always go back to them. They still decorate. They're like not even a minute away from where I live right now, so that's really cool. And he also asked, what is the best deal you've gotten while collecting? That would be Brigadine on the PS1. Got it at a garage sale a long time ago for $2. I don't do a lot of like game hunting normally, so that was definitely my best deal I've ever gotten. Hot Anime 32 asks, what's the most you ever spent on a video game? My wife would get pissed if she probably knew the answer to that one, so let's just say into the hundreds. That's the most you're going to get out of me on that one. URDVG asks, what's your favorite video game of all time that's on the NES? It would either be Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, or Super Mario Bros. 3, mainly just because I played those two games so much. It's like that's embedded in my mind for when it comes to NES games. So one of those two. I was asked roughly the same question by a few different people. Hyperflex Harrington 5, Cyclone Jack HH, and DePiro Productions all asked about the band that I work for. For those that do not know, I work for the band Korn. I am the guitar player's personal assistant while on tour. I've been doing that for about 1.5 years. Currently, due to some family issues with my parents, I am not touring with them right now, but I am still employed. I started working for him about 6 years ago. He owned a record label, and I was doing tour managing, promoting, running the street team for it, just doing a bunch of different stuff. The way that I sort of met him and became, you know, a part of all that was sort of a combination of being a fan since I was a kid and being on their street team and just always going to the shows, and then working locally through the concert production companies and meeting different people and just sort of networking. They sort of collided with each other at one point, so that is how I ended up working for them. Emerald Gypsy Heart asked, what is my Halloween budget usually? It's changed over the years. More recently, it's becoming more about building my own stuff or getting props from friends or fellow haunters that build really cool things. So it used to be a little bit higher. Now it's sort of, you know, come down a little bit. But I'd say I've spent, you know, anywhere from $500 to $2,000. I mean, just depending on the year and what I wanted or needed that year. Rotten Ryan 100, the guy that gave me the idea for this video, thank you again, asked, what got you into collecting? Really got me into collecting was probably when I started working for a video game store, and I just was getting a discount and cool things were coming in. It made it a lot easier. Other than flea markets, where else do you get your stuff? eBay, pawn shops, thrift stores more recently. Like I said, I've more recently started to do that now that I hang out with Joey on a more weekly basis. But most of my collection probably came from eBay and the game store that I work at. What's on your collecting wish list? Magical Chase on the TurboGrafx. If anyone has that, please, I want it, and I will pay for it, or trade or something. Anyways, that's the game I want the most. Captain 8-Bit asked, can I have KO's Flying Squadron? No, but you can watch me pet it. It's so pretty. Mr. Zombie is Hungry asks, what do I think of the Halloween props for 2012 so far I've seen compared to past years, like the price and quality? Sort of the same for me every year. It's basically I'll maybe see one or two that I think are pretty cool and for a decent price, but 75% of them, like everyone else says, you know, either the sound or the look or the animation or whatever, it just sort of sucks. I've also sort of been getting more into static props. I guess I'm becoming sort of a big Halloween art nerd, but I like creating scenes out of, you know, just still props and stuff, and not so much the animated, at least for the last couple years. That changes with me. A lot of the animated props I have right now are ghosts that another haunter built anyway, so I haven't really bought a ton over the last couple years in the sense of animated props from the bigger companies, the bigger Halloween stores. Demonic Fire 76 asks, what got me into horror video gaming? That would have been the first Resident Evil. Hey, look, I'm wearing a Resident Evil shirt. Isn't that weird? I never wear those. I actually bought the first Resident Evil game at the store, the video game store, where I work. And I remember I was clothes shopping with my mom at the time for, I don't know, some back to school, I don't remember what year, but, well, 1996 then. And I picked it up, and I've been in love with the horror video game genre ever since, and that got me into Silent Hill, which ended up being my favorite series of all time, so... But it all started with the first Resident Evil on the PS1. Mean Old Drunk asks, who'd win in a wrestling match, Lemmy or God? I'll say Lemmy. For people that don't know, Lemmy is in the band Motorhead, and I've met him before, and he's quite the interesting guy, so I'll just say Lemmy because I've actually met that guy. I've never met God. Who's this God guy you speak of? Miss Loveseek asks, what's my best recommendation on paint, price, and quality for use with Halloween stuff? I would say anywhere like the Restore or anywhere that sells Oops paints, you know, bad mixtures or just screwed up colors. You can get it really cheap. And do I have any tips or tricks for painting? Most of the painting I've done has either been literally with my hands, like dipped in paint or fake blood and smeared on stuff, or on my props with like acrylic paint, really small. I haven't done any really like large painting for panels or anything like that, so mine would be more detail and small brush strokes. Von Boone 11DY asks, what's my favorite horror flick and what's my favorite bad movie? Favorite horror flick would definitely be the 80s remake of The Thing, by far. And favorite bad movie, I'm going to say this one because it's not a bad movie, but it's a B movie and super cheesy. Evil Dead. I remember when I first saw that and how bad like the coloring of the blood and just the acting was. It was so bad and cheesy, but it's so great. It's such a classic. Tease Morrow says, what is your best advice on weatherproofing props and how to protect electrical or battery-operated props? Don't put them out in the rain. You probably want to do that. That's not a good idea. Seriously, a few times I've sprayed like a sealer, like the type you'd spray on like outdoor patio furniture on some of my paper mache props. And for battery-powered electrical ones, you can... you know, wrap some plastic wrap around, you know, the actual electrical components, but there's really not any great way to 100% protect them from rain or anything. I only do my haunt on Halloween Day, so 90% of my stuff goes out and won't go out if it's raining, so that's the ultimate way to protect them. Bretsky84 asks, who is my favorite video game babe and why? I guess maybe Tifa from Final Fantasy VII. Why? Because when I was at that age of playing that game, huge boobs and a teeny little short skirt were what I liked, even on animated fake women. So I guess that would be my answer for that one. Sherrick97 asked, have you thought about doing a pro haunt, or would touring make that tough to do? If I was touring during that time of year, then yes, definitely it would be impossible, but I wouldn't do a pro haunt regardless. That's just not what I want to do. I want to do a home haunt. I want to do a little spooky scene, and there's such a different experience of doing a pro haunt, and so much more work. It becomes a business, because that's what you're doing, is you're making it a business, and that's not what I want to turn Halloween into for me. Cyclone Jack also asked me, how did I get my nickname Scottsquatch? When I was tour managing a band, the guitar player came up with the name for me. I actually had the nickname Sascot at the time that a friend of mine gave me back home, and when I told him that, he's like, that sounds stupid. Scottsquatch, that's much better. And I was like, you know what? You're right, that does sound better. So it's been Scottsquatch ever since. Blue Stinger Alive asked, have I ever had any other weird experiences at the flea market besides the creepy Sonic guy in real life from one of the earlier episodes? So far, he was definitely the weirdest. I did have a guy not too long ago come up, and conversation started off good. We were talking for 10-15 minutes, and all of a sudden he started lying about things that I actually knew the answers to. Not even like game related, but like the company I work for and people that work for the company. And it just totally put a downer on the conversation. I was like, oh man, I don't want to talk to you really anymore. Feral Cheetah Mage asked, do I or have I ever watched anime, and what is my favorite series or title? Yes, I have. I have a decent little anime collection. Favorite series, probably Samurai Champloo. Favorite title ever, Grave of the Firefly, or maybe Princess Mononoke, one of those two. Mr. Retro City asked me what are some of the bands I've worked for, and what are my favorite places I've been on tour. Favorite places on tour, Amsterdam, Scotland, Moscow, Russia, and someplace in Oklahoma that had a shit ton of game stores. It was awesome. Bands I've worked for, a band called Droid. I worked for Five Finger Death Punch for one tour. And Korn. Those are the bands I've toured with. Pete Door's question was, what is the rarest collectible that I own, promo or action figure wise? Promo wise, I have an Arc the Lad watch from the PS1 games. I have a signed Peter Molyneux Fable 2 little booklet. Action figure statue wise, I have a Silent Hill Pyramid Head statue that was pretty limited, and my Shadow of the Colossus statue is really badass. I love that thing. And I have a Walking Dead statue from the comic books that was limited to only a few thousand. So those would be the rarer or cooler ones that I have. Shy Kid 64 asked, do I use a flip camera? No, I use a iPod Generation 4. Linkadoodle asked, how old was I when I started playing video games? I was 3 when I started playing the Atari. The World of James asked, top 5 bands or artists. Tool, Korn, Soulfly, Perfect Circle, Strapping Young Lad. There's a lot more, but those are the first 5 I could think of. Partyboat123 asked, are you going to be going to Hollow Scream at Busch Gardens this year? Partyboat is Ryan, who is in episode 4 of the Video Game Sellers. He's also one of the actors in my haunt for last year and is going to be in there this year. And he works at Hollow Scream. The answer is yes, Ryan, because you're going to get me in for free. So thank you in advance. Haunt Guy asked, what kind of drum set does the drummer for Korn play? He plays D-drum and Sabian cymbals. But if you go to Ray Luzier, that's RayLuzier.com, his official website, there's a bunch of stuff about his drum kits and videos and stuff, so go check that out. Last question I'm going to do comes from Yard Hunter 5, and he asked, what is your favorite color? Well, Steve, it is snurp blah 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 fuck a booble. That's my favorite color, definitely. Thank you guys again for sending in these questions. This was a lot of fun. I'll probably do another video like this in the future. If I didn't answer your questions again, I'm sorry. There was a lot that were sort of similar to other people's, and I just sort of went through as quick as I could and picked some random ones. But thank you for watching my channel as always, and I really enjoy all my new viewers too, so keep on watching, and as always, peace.